Start the spring season off right with a new pair of Tecovas Western boots. Handcrafted and over 200 steps from genuine leather, they're built to last and feel broken in the moment you put them on. From cowhide to exotic leathers, Tecovas blends timeless style with all-day comfort. Pair them with premium denim, Western shirts, and accessories for an effortless, polished look. Shop quality Western goods in-store or online at tecovas.com.
When Mother's Day means celebrating your mom, your wife, maybe even your daughter as a new mom, trust 1-800-Flowers to help you celebrate every important woman in your life. With double blooms from 1-800-Flowers, order 1 dozen roses and get another dozen for free. It's a simple way to give beautifully, with colorful blooms that make Mother's Day feel meaningful. For every mom you're celebrating, order with confidence and get double blooms at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
Cartoons from present in the past. Every week will be an animated bash. What a cartoon! What a cartoon! Maybe a short but mostly shows. We'll talk, we'll analyze, exploring as we go. What a cartoon! What a cartoon! What a cartoon! What a cartoon!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to What a Cartoon Movie, the podcast that's a little too Rav. I'm one of your hosts, the master of ninjutsu in a terrible Humphrey Bogart impression, Bob Mackey, and this is an audio exploration of every animated movie ever. Who is here with me today, as always?
Ready to rock the town without being seen, it's Henry Gilbert.
And this month's movie is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
Wait! First, we should observe the ancient ritual of the traditional pre-fight donut.
Yeah!
And no, you're not hearing things. Well, I guess you are hearing things, but you're hearing the correct things because it is live action month on What a Cartoon Movie once again. And because our episode about the original TMNT movie was such a hit, we decided to cover the sequel, which is not nearly as good, but it's pretty fun and it still has turtles in it. And just a note for all of you out there, there's no way in hell we are covering part 3. As someone who watched it within the past 6 months, it's no man's land. There is not any value to be had in talking about that movie or watching it.
I agree with that so much that I baked in Turtles 3 information into my history because I was like, well, this will never be mentioned in another one. We're not doing Turtles 3.
I want to meet the hipster who thinks that is the best one. There's got to be like 12 people out there.
Yeah, I mean, we should check Letterboxd, find the person who somehow rates this the highest of all the Turtle movies.
It's got to be a scam. It's got to be somebody just looking for likes.
Oh, well, this is good timing for it, too, because it just, and I mean just passed the 35th anniversary. When we're recording this, it was March 22nd in the United States was the 35th anniversary of this movie. Yes.
And I heard there are many sparsely attended screenings based on your anecdotal evidence.
I went to one on a Saturday night. It was me and my husband, a few other guys of around my age, and then one guy did bring his kids to it who seemed to like it. The kids did not fall asleep or weren't talking. So,
well, I do want to point out that a few months ago we tore into younger millennial slop, and this time we're going to tear into elder millennial slop because I think Henry and I gave this movie the same score on Letterboxd. It's going to be fun to talk about, but it has some flaws, let's say. It has some story problems.
Yes, yeah. It's as far as a movie, like when I watched it this time, I was like, well, I stand by one of my biggest things is that I disliked the shift in tone that I didn't like as a kid. I still don't like it now. The first one is the tone I want, but then also too, this is like, it is thin turtle soup in the plot of this movie.
But they have real actors this time, like David Warner.
They had enough money for one real actor this time. Yeah. Well, Elias Koteas is a real actor, but he wasn't like established yet. Yeah.
He wasn't quite known. He wasn't quite bald yet.
Yes. And this is just our most recent of the What a Cartoon Movie podcast, which if you're a free subscriber on the free feed or a $5 subscriber on our Patreon, you can only hear the full podcast when you sign up at the $10 a month level at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons.
That's right. And if you sign up for $10, you get to hear the rest of this podcast and also, let's say, nearly 8 years worth of What a Cartoon Movie episodes covering so many different things. Like we said, we covered the last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie a couple of years ago, but we cover actual animated movies too. Like, hey, let's say the entire Disney Renaissance. If there's a movie you like from that 10-year period, we have covered it and so many more on that podcast, on that tier, on our Patreon.
Yes, and many Pixar movies, including all of the Toy Story movies to date, even junk or things people we thought were junk, like say Shrek 2 or B movie. We covered that as well, and that it's also with all of the ad-free bonuses that you get at the $5 level too when you sign up at it. Yeah, hundreds of hours I would say now, because we go super in depth. Whether it's the secret of the Ooze or the secrets of the making of Aladdin, we dig deep into all of them.
This is one of our few Ooze-focused podcasts.
Man, what are the other Ooze movies we can get to later?
I'm sure there's some goopy, gloppy things we've covered in the past that I've just erased from my memory. Hey, I don't know, B movie, Honey is kind of goopy, right?
That's true. Yeah, that is a lot of goop in that movie, man. And though the first Turtle movie was light on these. Oh, what am I saying? Shrek loves ooze. He loves
right.
ooze of every orifice.
He lives in nature's ooze, and that's mud.
Yeah. So yeah, sign up at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons to see all of the What a Cartoon movie stuff you're missing out on, including this full podcast about TMNT2, The Secret of the Ooze. But, well, I guess this is normally where we talk about our backgrounds. We have, I would guess, probably pretty similar ones to each other on this, right?
Yeah, this is, I guess, very limited background. I don't think I was aging out of the Turtles at this point, but maybe you're like around 92, 93 was when I was done with the Turtles, and they would continue on TV for a while after that. But I recall seeing this in a theater with a friend, enjoying it in the moment, but actually never watching it again afterwards, never renting it on VHS. And only watching it for the second time, like within the last 6 months, because my wife and some friends wanted to get together and watch the third one as a joke, as a larf, as they say. And I thought, let's watch the second one. And we watched that, and we watched the third one. So, yeah, I don't know why, because I was still watching the cartoon on TV, but I just never had the drive to go back to this. Maybe it's because we had that first movie on the official VHS at home, and I thought, well, I can always watch this, and maybe I preferred that. I'm not sure what I felt as a kid.
Yeah, I definitely was there like as early as possible, as close to day one as I could get my mom to take me and my brother to it. I was like counting the days for it and was very excited for it. And yeah, I did like it. My mom got for my brother and I a lot of related toys to it, as well as the VHS. We were toy boys. I've said it before, incurable spoiled toy boys. But yeah, I do also remember in the movie at the very start when Leonardo says, "Now you see him, now you don't," and throws his katanas into the ceiling just to kick a guy. That's when I realized, like, oh, this is like the cartoon now where they're not going to actually hit people with their weapons anymore.
You see, I was the opposite in that I wanted it to be more like the cartoon, which is why I kind of slightly rejected the first movie. Go back to that podcast. I did like the first movie, but I thought, why did they change all these things? Now we know why, because they didn't have the license to use some things that were in the cartoon. And while I enjoyed this as a kid, I soundly reject Toka and Razor. I thought,
Yes.
man, you're so close to Bebop and Rocksteady, you're mocking me. And now we know why. It's because Bebop and Rocksteady, not created by the people that gave the rights to the movie people, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it all comes down to money. I mean, the film is a very, as I was reaffirmed in the research I did, it is an extremely like capitalist, like merchandisable business movie. Art has little to do with why this movie was made, how it was made. But yeah, I think I recall too seeing the first time I saw the trailer, they wanted me to believe Bebop and Rocksteady were in the movie. That also was a big disappointment for me in the theater. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of being a cheap, cynical cash-in, this one arrived less than a year after the first movie. This is like Scream 2.
Yes, yeah, it's hey, there's a commonality in all these things. It's New Line Cinema. That's the it's their way of doing things. And I did also get the action figures. Few fans are as neurodivergently dedicated to their characters as Ninja Turtle fans. So I learned like almost to the month when Movie Star Turtles came out, and it was like the year later in 92. But my brother and I had those from Playmates, which of the full set of the 4 turtles. And they were known for being very rubbery. They were not made out of the hard plastic of the regular Playmates turtles. Because they were rubbery, it sort of felt like what you think it would feel like to touch the puppets, I think, was how their skin felt.
Real puppet flesh.
And also they had the bright, colorful masks that they have in this movie, not the more muted colors of the first movie, too. Yeah. We had the VHS, but it did not get played half as much as the original one. And now, most recently, I got the 2025 Arrow 4K re-release of the full trilogy, which was another reason I wanted to do this, because it's like full of extras. Arrow, the people that work there, they work hard on things they would not need to, not just to 4K it, but to get so many extras on these movies. They have extras on TMNT 3 that no one would have asked for or blamed them for not having, including full director commentary, which I've not listened to yet. I really want to.
Yeah, it is not only Criterion out there. There's people like Arrow, companies like Arrow and Kino Lorber. They're really they're taking all the non-prestige titles and getting them out there. Although Criterion does have a lot of crap if you look at their entire selection.
Yeah, it's Arrow is giving Criterion a run for their money with the with the sickos like us who love physical media still. Yeah. Also, I saw that like Arrow 4K, to follow up on the Turtles one, they're about to do a Mortal Kombat one of the MK 95 and 1997's Annihilation. They actually will have director commentary on Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
It's going to be a bunch of apologies. I haven't seen that one. I feel like I need to torture myself and my wife with that one night. A lot of drinks might be involved. But it's only like, what, a 73-minute movie, right?
Yes, it's incredible what they got away with that. No, it's 6 years after I saw this sequel, and I was in the theater for that day one of Annihilation, I felt extreme disappointment in that movie. That was Turtles 3, 10 times better than Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Okay, 3 times better. 10 times too high. But okay, why don't we get into the history? And I definitely credit the extras on the Arrow trilogy release, but also there are a lot of histories out there for it and interviews. And the big one I want to shout out is Den of Geeks 2021 30th anniversary interview with Golden Harvest producer Tom Gray, who had some good quotes in here that I'll mix in, who was very honest about the draconian way they were making this movie. But let's catch up to where things were right at the release of the first movie, March 30th, 1990. It's a shocking success. The biggest indie film of all time to that point. It made $200 million worldwide, but it's not real. I mean, it is. I don't know. Indie is a weird classification on it.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't have the vibe of an indie movie because it is like puppets and gags and slapstick and things. It's not like Clerks.
No. Yeah, it's just Golden Harvest, which is a real company, though not in America as much as, say, in Hong Kong then. But Golden Harvest got New Line to then release the film, and New Line was a smaller company for sure than, say, Paramount, but they were a real movie company. And so I kind of wrangle with that indie label, though that hurts the mythology of the first Turtles movie if it's not the biggest indie film of all time. But yeah, that $200 million adjusted for inflation, that is closer to $500 million in today's money. Like, that is a huge, huge success for a movie. And its soundtrack was certified platinum by the label SBK, sub-label of EMI, which in 1990, other than the Turtles album, their biggest successes were Wilson Phillips, Jesus Jones, and a man born as Rob Van Winkle, who had the first hip-hop album to top the Billboard 100.
I know him. His success is the reason why this album was a success, although he felt a bit past his expiration date when I was seeing this in the theater for the first time.
Yeah. His Vanilla Ice is To the Extreme sold 15 million copies in 1990. It was like right outside of the highest selling top 10 of that year. That's how many albums people bought. That 15 million can't get you in the top 10 in 1990.
And this movie was prepping the world for Cool as Ice, which would be out later that fall. Great riff tracks, by the way.
Oh, I've never. Yeah, I got to catch up on my riff tracks for that.
Well, that Retrax is about 10 years old, so you have a lot of catching up to do, Henry.
Yes, I do. So, with that huge success, it was time to strike while the turtles were hot and they were seemingly bigger than ever. Like there was a feeling before the movie came out, oh, the turtle fad is past. The cartoon is getting on in years and the toys aren't selling as much. And then, boom, this movie makes them bigger or as big as they were at their cartoon peak, maybe even bigger. And New Line Cinema was infamous in Hollywood for the speed of their sequels. The best example is the A Nightmare on Elm Street series, the Freddy films. Between 1984 and 1991, they released 6 Nightmare on Elm Street films.
Nearly annualized.
The second Freddy film was released exactly a year after the first, which is why it has nobody back except for Robert Englund in it, and they just start back over again. Like it's a very similar strategy at New Line Cinema to this movie too. Just like, we don't need all those actors back. Get the one that matters, or one or two that matter. And this, as Tom Gray said, New Line wanted it out pretty much the same date, maybe a week earlier, in fact. So we rushed into production, got a script together. The overarching thing was speed. We had to get it out. I think that's probably the reason why it doesn't top many people's list of the best Turtles movies. Though I still would say it's like the third best, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, wouldn't it be number 2? If you're not counting animated movies.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, yeah, Mutant Mayhem. Yeah, that go first. Then I'd put 90 Turtles. And then I'd probably put this one. Definitely it's over maybe the 07 TMNT CGI one's better. But I don't know, though. I don't know. One of the dangers, though, when something gets very big, is that the people who didn't believe in the first film then want to fix the film that was a success by removing the things that made it a hit. And there was a controversy that they were going to have to deal with, which is kids loved how violent the film is, and parents did not like how much kids loved how violent it was.
At least the lame parents didn't like it.
And they were the ones getting to be on all the talk shows and complain about it. So there wasn't just pressure from U.S. parents groups, but also, we mentioned it a ton in the first movie, but in the UK and Europe, they had to slash so much violence from it, especially the nunchucks, and they had to recut the whole movie. And that's time and money. So it's not just oh, parents will be mad. It's to release this internationally, we'll have to re-edit an entire different movie. That's a lot of money. So let's just start with a base level of less violence. And I can understand too, because it made almost half of the 200 million globally. Not Europe, also Japan. It did do good. It did do well in Japan. And so New Line and Golden Harvest, they could have also used their contractual right to bring back the director, Steve Barron, but that was a non-starter for the movie. That was another of their problems, too.
What was his experience like on the first movie? Can you remind me?
Oh, it was a very bad exit from it.
He was fired at some point, correct? Yes.
About a month or two before release, they basically fired him. I am not sure he even went to the premiere, but yeah, Steve Barron did the first film, and he was the reason they could even get Jim Henson to studios to make the puppets. But he was the one who wanted more violence, and he was the one who wanted it literally darker, as in lit darker, which this movie is so bright compared to the first movie. It is lit to stun you. When they're in the sewers, it is as brightly lit as any scene.
It's lit like a DMV.
It's why this has TV show vibes to me. Though it still feels more like a movie than, say, I just saw the trailer for that Moana live action thing. That looks fake as shit compared to this.
Yeah. I would have held off on that, but I'm not Disney, and I'm sure it'll make a lot of money. But I felt give people time to be nostalgic.
Yes, I guess at least let the first kids who saw Moana, give them 5 more years to have kids to take to the movie. Give them a little more time.
Yeah, let them get out of college first, maybe.
I have to think it was because they saw the clock was ticking on The Rock being able to get Dwayne Johnson to act in it as the same character, and so maybe that was part of the reason why. But that's neither here nor there. But speaking of Disney, that was another reason they fired Barron, because he was going over budget / they were not giving him the money he needed. And so he goes to Disney without telling them, which that breaks the rules. That does piss people off. And There was a general feeling of like from Golden Harvest and New Line Cinema. Oh, Steve Barron was wasting our money. He was very irresponsible with it. I know Barron's side of it was just that you are asking me to do something you literally can't do with this budget, and I was doing the bare minimum. This is what it costs. So Steve Barron, he was like, nah, I'm not doing this. He goes back to music videos and while waiting to get his next film. He will later say he regrets turning down working on Casper because Steven Spielberg liked the first Turtles movie. Instead, he would work on 1993's Coneheads. That would be his next film.
Oh, that poor man. Although perhaps I will watch that again. I'm watching a lot of, well, not a lot, just a few SNL movies from the early 90s again. I think things are getting kind of bad in the world, and it's nice to have some comfort food. And I've watched Wayne's World and Tommy Boy. It's like, what about Coneheads? That was a one and done for me.
Well, now that you've just watched Tommy Boy, you're in the mood for some more Chris Farley on film.
Yeah. He's got a little bit role in that one.
I haven't seen that movie in, I watched it when I worked at a video store, so it's been nearly 20 years. Though I remember being surprised by like, oh, this is about like illegal immigration in quotes, like as a hot button issue of the 90s and now. And another group that needed to be pleased with how they were going to make this new movie was the toy company. The toy company Playmates hated the 1990 film, thought it was going to kill the brand, and that's why they made no toys for it.
Damn. I don't know if you went over that with the first movie podcast, but now that you're mentioning it, yeah, I don't remember seeing any toys from that production.
Yeah, no, they were like, well, this was made outside of the team that does the cartoons. It was Mark Friedman, who was one of the producers on the film. He said that after a screening of the first movie, the Playmates toy guys came to him and said, you killed the Turtles. Like, this has killed the brand. We're glad we didn't make toys for this. It probably cost them hundreds of millions of dollars to not have new toys ready for the movie when it came out. And so Playmates, they also wanted less violence and brighter colors. And lastly, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, the two creators of the Turtles, they were still involved in it, and they still had creative control that was granted to them in their contracts. But Mark Friedman of Surge Licensing, who I say takes too much credit for the Turtles, he has gotten the boot in between the two movies. He gets a special thanks in the credits, which is probably like, here's your paycheck, get out of here, buddy.
Screw you money.
But he'd show them by creating Street Sharks, which would be competing with the Turtles soon enough.
In a way, he showed all of us by creating Street Sharks. Previous What a Cartoon episode, by the way.
So you got New Line Cinema and Golden Harvest. They need a new director who will stay on budget, get things out at the speed of a TV movie, and work well with the producers, meaning do as he's told. And so they, with a brief search, end up with journeyman director Michael Pressman. So a little background on Pressman. He has a fun Wikipedia page, which really reads like it was written by him. It only mentions the Turtles once, very lightly. It lists like it with a few other films and says, these films, though successful, represented but one side of his ambition and talent.
Yeah, you know it's a self-written Wikipedia page when it reads like a cover letter.
Yes, yeah. It's though I looked at his career, he has a career to be proud of. He's not just some flunky. Like I hadn't really looked into his work before. I expected a guy of less talent and background than like they would have hired somebody cheaper than him.
I really appreciate these autobiographical Wikipedia pages because in any other case, no one would write a page about them. So they took the initiative to do it. Even if it is a little self-serving, the information is there, and I need it sometimes.
So he was born in New York City to a dancer mother and a father who directed for television in the golden age of TV until the shameful socialist blacklist of the 1950s. He says in his wiki, his wiki says, that informed his progressive politics, Michael Pressman's growing up, when he saw how his father was railroaded by Nixon and those other assholes during HUAC.
So this movie is probably an allegory for the Red Scare, right? Toka and Razor are like McCarthy and Hoover.
The Turtles are in hiding from their true selves, and they'll have to, they have to stealthily do things. I guess that's a bit like writing under the blacklist, sure.
Well, they're hiding out in Zoran Mamdani's campaign headquarters.
Ooh, man, that's yes, they are. That is what you're right. That is the City Hall train station that he has done his campaigning from. That is very funny. So Pressman grew up with a father, like he had connections in the TV world and the directing world, so he had a leg up to go with his talents. He was training in drama as an actor. Then he attended Cal Arts in the 70s and with the hopes of becoming a director. But he learned that there was one school even faster than Cal Arts to get you to the director's chair. Roger Corman. He became, as we discussed in the Joe Dante history on Looney Tunes Back in Action, Roger Corman in the 70s would hire promising guys who would do a cheap exploitation film very quickly. And it was like director school for, I'd say, a dozen big name people who would go on to make a lot of movies, like Martin Scorsese and Peter Bogdanovich and James Cameron and Joe Dante and so many others.
Yeah, I'm looking at his filmography for the first time. It's right in front of me, and there's some notable movies. Not for good reasons, but they are notable.
Well, his first movie with Corman is The Great Texas Dynamite Chase, which even he is just like, hey, you got to get your start somewhere, is what he said in interviews. But yeah, I mean, it's a goofy sex comedy that Roger Corman specialized in, but it proved before the age of 30 that Pressman could direct a film, and he got his second director gig the next year in 1977 with a film that even he would say, like, oh yeah, this was just like my Secret of the Ooze job. He directed The Bad News Bears in Breaking Training, which was made, it was a sequel to breakout success The Bad News Bears, made within a year of the first film, and brought back very little of the original cast, but was still profitable.
Yeah, I'm not seeing Walter Matthau anywhere in this cast list.
Yeah, or Tatum O'Neal. I do think they got back Rorschach, Jackie Earle Haley. I think of him as Rorschach. the best character who's right about everything. I think he's a good character. Anyway, that's what Zack Snyder feels. So yes, Pressman then kind of graduated from that, though, to bigger and better jobs. I'll just highlight a few interesting ones. In 1982, he directed Some Kind of Hero, starring Richard Pryor and Margot Kidder. It's not a well-reviewed film, but it is famous because the studio took the film from him and wanted to, one, add more comedy to this Richard Pryor film, and two, get rid of love scenes between Margot Kidder and Richard Pryor.
I see.
And to Pressman's credit, he went to the media and said, yeah, they want, like, I don't think he like literally called them racist, but he did say, like, yeah, they want to cut the love scenes, these interracial love scenes in my movie. Like, that's bullshit. But the next year he'd bounce back with Dan Aykroyd vehicle, the beloved Dr. Detroit.
Yeah, that's what really stood out to me. This Dan Aykroyd video that feels like a landmine that I don't want to go anywhere near.
I think I rented it once as a kid because, like, oh, it's the Ghostbuster. He's right there. And I bet he does crazy stuff. I think I couldn't take more than 20 minutes of it as a kid.
He's like a pimp or something?
I think so. And he makes up the Dr. Detroit character that I feel like he barely, the trailers make me think he's going to be Dr. Detroit all the time. I bet he's like, only takes on that character like once in the movie.
It was really just designed to run on Comedy Central in the 90s.
Like most of the John Candy crap of the 80s as well. Like, oh, John Candy, and I've never heard of this movie? Well, there's a reason you haven't heard of it.
Is it Summer Rental or is it the other one?
Oh, man. Well, there's also the Harry Crumb. That also is a pretty poorly reviewed one. I think also it was Dan Aykroyd. I think I wanted to get Dr. Detroit because, was it The Great Outdoors? That's the camping or the one with him and Candy?
Right. I always confuse The Great Outdoors with Summer Rental because it's like, what if John Candy went outside?
Yeah. The Great Outdoors, that one I watched a lot, or I watched a few times as a kid, and I think it had a trailer for Dr. Detroit at the start of it on the tape, so maybe that's why I wanted to give it a try. So in that time in the 80s, as Pressman also kind of transitioned out of theatrical films into TV movies, which there was a ton of them back then. There wasn't a Netflix to put TV movies on back then. So you just, you made TV. TV movies had a slight amount of prestige.
Yeah, they used to be a pretty big deal because you would make your TV movie and then 50 million people would watch it because there were 3 networks.
That's why comedians could make references to like The Burning Bed for forever, right?
Mm-hmm. And whatever that Michael Landon movie was about how he was a long-distance runner and he always wet his bed.
Right,
Mr. Show did an entire parody of that because everyone watched it in the 70s.
And now that's the kind of monoculture you had in the 3 network era of the United States back then.
And by the way, it was called The Loneliest Runner,
Right.
1976.
So Run I Shall and Run I Did.
And Brian's Song, also another big TV movie,
Oh,
made-for-TV movie.
I forgot that was a TV movie. I thought it was like a real movie. Well, I mean, it has movie stars in it. I shouldn't call it not a real movie. Those movies feel realer to me than like Netflix films that I've never heard of, like The Gray Man.
Yeah, or like Disney Plus movies that are sequels to other movies, but they just live on this network, and everyone watches them the weekend they come out, and then we just don't talk about it.
Or The Lady and the Tramp live action. Yeah. So Pressman was fully working in TV movies by the end of the 80s. He had worked before with Golden Harvest producer Terry Morse, and when the studio was looking very quickly for new Turtle directors, it was Morse who suggested Pressman as someone who could do it. And Pressman, when he was offered the chance to interview for it, he was working on a TV movie called Joshua's Heart, which starred the 10-year-old at the time, Matthew Lawrence. And when he told him, like, hey, what do you think of the Turtles? Like, Matthew Lawrence said, that would be so cool if you directed a Turtles movie. You got to do it. So Pressman's like, well, all right, I guess I should.
I thought he would have said, whoa, and then his brother would have beaten him up for stealing his catchphrase.
Stealing my bit. So the endorsement from Lawrence gave him the confidence to take the meeting. He said he watched the first film in prep and like instantly knew like, oh, I know what they want for this sequel. And he came in with like, oh yeah, you guys want lighter tone and no violence and a cheaper budget and a guy who can do things fast. I do TV movies. I can do this fast. And he got the job and he could do it. He pulled it off. The timeline he gave in one interview I found was, he gets hired by the end of April. They're doing pre-production on all of the materials, sets and costumes and all that. That's done by September. They film from September to February, spend some of February and March editing the film, and get it out at the last second to get it done in time.
Yeah, I'm looking at the timeline here. The first Turtles movie came out in March of 90, so they're already filming in April of 90.
Yes, they had to, if they were going to get it for the next year, they had to move fast. It is crazy. A year from starting from zero. Like they weren't starting from like, you know, an MCU movie where even when they can have a second one out in a year, they really had been working on that one and just at the same time, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the spring of Simpsons season 1, and they're probably thinking we need to hit this fad before Bart destroys the Turtles.
Yes. Well, that's why, not to get ahead of it, we'll talk about it in the movie part, but that's why there is a little wink to old Bart in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
So to go ahead in the timeline, Pressman after this would do a couple more theatrical films, but mostly stick to TV directing. He's directed, I'd say at this point, maybe even hundreds, if not at least dozens of episodes of television. He mainly works in drama, and he's done a lot with David E. Kelley. He was like a producer and director on Picket Fences and Chicago Hope. He even directed David E. Kelley's film to Jillian on her 37th birthday.
And I'm sure he has a lot of turtle stories that he shares on set.
Yeah, he probably, when he has any actor, a millennial actor, and he wants to get on their good side on set, he can probably just go like, so Turtles, huh? You probably grew up liking the Turtles, huh? And boom, he's got him. And he's stayed very busy into his late 70s. He has still been directing stuff on TV up to this day and still works in theater productions, and also will make time to do DVD commentary or director commentaries for these releases and interviews with a bunch of turtle nerds as well. He seems like a nice guy.
So these are new commentaries then. They're not recorded for an earlier release.
Oh no, yeah, they mentioned like somebody who died in like I think they even dated as saying they recorded it at the start of 2025, I think. And so yes, with the production going, they had to get the new turtle puppets going before the script was even ready. The original suits barely survived the film. You see the tech, you look at these back to back, the tech upgrade is quite a lot by the time they get to it.
Oh, big time. I mean, the first movie, they're very impressive. The second movie, it's where they really nail it in terms of the tech, because at this point, Henson Company had already done a lot of the Dinosaurs TV show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or at least they had gotten that off the ground, so they had a lot more experience with Turtles and that. The mouths, in particular, are much more well-articulated, and the lip sync is much better. You go to the third movie, not Henson, they just look like they're being electrocuted, and then their mouths are just, like, violently opening and closing, and it's bad. And Splinter is like a Pizza Time puppet rat who never leaves this little stage area because I feel like they had a non-working rat some days.
That's right. Like Splinter is like waving at them from like the bus or the train car from inside. That's
Yes.
right. Yes.
He's more of like a puppeteer hiding kind of puppet than a man in a suit.
The Henson Creature Shop is so good at like iteration. That's why they work more in TV than movies. And I do think that like the working on the first film ended up just being like a test ground for it. And they learned many lessons about servos, about the radio waves, about the weight of things, about what plastics can survive things. There's a reason that the Donatello that went on sale went viral from the first movie, because it had melted, integrated so much because it was made out of foam that's not meant to live.
They learned how many gallons a stuntman could sweat
Yes.
in 10 takes.
I still think they were probably still total hell to wear on this one. Just maybe slightly better. Just slightly.
Well, you're not seeing the horrifying faces of people inside the turtle mouths this time around. They found a way to either digitally fix that or do something with the actual prosthetics in the heads to make their faces not visible.
I do think they made a bet. They had improvements on where the turtles peek through. That might be one reason that this didn't come up in my research. But like another reason Steve Barron on the first movie said he wanted it to be so dark was because you could see the seams less that way. So maybe they were able to have fewer seams visible so they could brighten up the turtles more that way too. So they were getting straight to work on the turtle puppets, the new ones in London. When I was doing the research on the first movie, there's like a BBC or just a British broadcast of how do they make those new turtles? And they were talking to the London Creature Shop about the first movie, but they are filming them already building the second movie Turtles as they're going in like April. That's how quick they were with it. Of course, though, they went through a rough patch at Creature Studios while working on this because May 16th, 6 weeks after the first film's release, beloved Jim Henson passes away at 53 years old.
Right, shortly after the release of the first film.
Yeah, this is one of the Secret of the Ooze is one of the first Henson projects theatrically released after his passing.
Now, I hate to steal this joke from you, Henry, because I think we're both going to make it, but this movie starts with "In loving memory of Jim Henson" and then a shot of the World Trade Center.
Yes.
It gets off to a very bad start through 2026 eyes.
Yes, that is crazy. It is those back to back. You're right. Just wham, wham, like right there. That's how much things changed before the film came out of like, well, Jim Henson passed away. And then 10 years later, the World Trade Center no longer exists too.
I wish I would have kept going on, like special thanks to Bill Cosby.
Financing, Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder too, with like Henson out, with Barron out, did they contractually have to work with them again? And with Barron not on it, is that another reason why they pulled out of working? I mean, certainly it was New Line being cheap to not keep going with Henson, but maybe the Henson Company didn't want to work with them after 2 movies. I wonder.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, again, we're never going to talk about it. Maybe you can listen to that third commentary and bring the news back to us. But it seems like Henson was the only game in town. Maybe in a few years, other companies had the technology or developed it on their own, and they could deliver inferior turtles for a lower cost.
And as for the script, Todd Langdon, the main screenwriter of the first movie, was back. There were many writers on the first film. The script went through many changes in many different hands, but Todd Langdon was the one who did the last work on it with Steve Barron and worked the best with both the director and the studio. So they've kept him on. Much like Pressman, he also has a TV background to pump this out, and he also has a sitcom background, so that's why this is a comedy film full of jokes, a lot of jokes. And Tom Gray says that after getting the script, they did a speedy rewrite on it to lighten the tone even more, adding even more quips. And then Pressman also says that on the set, he was like, oh yeah, I'm making basically a Three Stooges movie. So he found more jokes to do on the set, like while filming too.
Well, there's so many opportunities with a fourth Stooge.
You're right. It maximizes he also said it was like the Marx Brothers, but I'll put this more in Stooge zone because of the violence, I'd say. And Eastman and Laird still got approval on the script like the first one, but it was starting to slow things down when they are trying to not go slow. And Tom Gray said this, Kevin Eastman was certainly more malleable with going along with things because of the budget, but Peter was very difficult to get things by because he would say, oh, well, Michelangelo would never say that. So it was very hard from the point of view of the writer trying to figure it all out.
They sent him a new script with a $100 bill stapled to every page.
It does seem like in the general Turtles history, there's a reason that why Eastman still is like working with Viacom or as part of the Paramount family as like the Stan Lee of the Turtles these days, while Peter Laird is just enjoying, owning a tank and being a private citizen, I think, these days. He seems like an odd duck, but that is what I like about the Turtles, is that it's seemingly made by like a weird guy. But Gray basically said that eventually he's like, guys, if you want this movie to exist, you have to approve this script. Like, we're doing our best, but just approve it, please. And yes, you mentioned it before, Bebop and Rocksteady, not in this. That was a big Eastman and Laird one. And Laird would say on a blog some years ago, he disliked that it was Bebop and Rocksteady he thought were too stupid, and he didn't want them in the movie. But I mean, it's the copyrights.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Well, I will say tens of millions of children disagreed with you, sir.
And also, Toka and Razor are so much stupider than Bebop and Rocksteady.
They're pre-verbal.
They're babies. That's Nina's review of the movie on Letterboxd saying, "Babies, this movie is for babies." That was so funny.
She's right.
So it was that Toka and Razor, you can even see it at the end of the credits. The copyright is right there. The copyright is just Eastman and Laird on Toka and Razor. So they would own all piece of it, which compared to Bebop and Rocksteady, that is split with like Fred Wolf Productions and Playmates, I think, and probably some other hands are in the cookie jar there.
And then they worked Toka and Razor into at least some of the video games, some of the Konami games, so they didn't feel as alien as other creations could have been.
Yeah, they eventually, I mean, design-wise, they don't act like Eastman and Laird creations, but their design look like their way of designing characters.
And they sound like Frank Welker, or at least one of them does.
No,
is Frank Welker both of them?
They're not paying for two Frank Welkers. Yeah.
He's making the most, it's like the stock Frank Welker noises you pay for.
I almost watched that, and I didn't, the second Babe TMNT movie from 2016, just because Bebop and Rocksteady were going to be in it. I was like, all right, well, they will finally be in it. Maybe I should, but no, I couldn't be fooled again. I watched at home on, I did not go to the theaters. I watched the first Megan Fox TMNT, but I could not go for a second.
Only did a treks on that one too.
It is fun to watch that one just to notice the seams of like, oh, when they decided that William Fichtner, I think they decided in the middle of filming it or while editing it, like, wait, he can't be Shredder. We're told it's racist for him to be Shredder. We have to completely recut and refilm the ending of this movie. Also, as Laird would say, he's the only one saying this, at some point in the writing, Krang wasn't going to be in it, but the Ultros the Ultron would have been in it, which are like the big pink brain guys that are like Krang in the comics, and that David Warner's character was supposed to be revealed to be one of those, but they filmed nothing of that. Pressman has said they didn't film anything of that. That was not what they were working on in the movie, but probably at one point in the script, he was going to be revealed to be that.
We covered the original Ninja Turtles cartoon on What a Cartoon a while ago, and I just love the idea of Krang so much. Such a weird ass idea, designed by I think Peter Chung.
Yes, yeah,
and yet to appear in any film, right?
Man, maybe he was also in that 2016 Turtles movie. Now I'm unclear. I think I remember Mutant Mayhem. They teased that Krang or the Krang's interdimensional people, the Ultron, were part of it, but there was no Krang in that movie. No.
Yeah, I'm seeing that Krang was in the Out of the Shadows film. Yes, film.
Yeah, that's the Bebop and Rocksteady one. Yes.
Ooh, these turtles, I forgot what they look like. Ooh.
Oh yes, they hideous. How again, like this is why I love seeing the Henson puppets in this, because it just. Yes, I was a child when I saw this, but they look real because they are there. They physically exist in space. They're not a bunch of CGI like giants, like Hulks, like these characters.
If they actually make that sequel, and I hope it doesn't get canceled, the Mutant Mayhem sequel, I want Krang and Shredder to be in it and to be like a bickering couple like they were in the cartoon.
Oh man, Seth Rogen would have so much fun with that. Like just to
Mhm.
amp that up even more and cast some of his comedy pals in those parts there who are so funny. So yes, the puppets, they're built, immediately shipped over to Wilmington, North Carolina, where the filming, of course, is going to happen again.
Hollywood East.
Well, though they did get 2 days in New York, just like, and it's easy to tell when you watch the movie, which are in real New York.
There was a real North Carolina film boom. I'm sure we talked about it, but just it was pre-Atlanta, before everything moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I guess when they gave up on Florida too.
Yeah, I think, boy, this was like right after this. No, this I think might have even been the same year that they opened up Universal Studios Florida, where they thought they would film movies there too.
Mm.
But people who live in California don't want to live in Florida to make movies. Most of them don't. Most of them. Yeah, so they're working in Wilmington, which I think was still like state owned because the De Laurentiis company like defaulted on their tax money loan to it, and so the state owned it. And so they improved the turtle suits, but Toka, Razor, and Super Shredder, they also can barely move. That's another reason they suck, is that they can't really
Yes.
move or do things.
Yeah, I don't know. I was never that impressed with Super Shredder.
Well, as a kid, when I saw Super Shredder on screen, I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be so awesome. The fight they're going to have. And yeah, then about a minute later, I was incredibly disappointed because nothing happens with Super Shredder. Well, I'll complain more later in that. But though Henson employee Kenny Wilson did say he worked hard on those just the same, including he said he went to a local zoo in North Carolina to get a real life cast of a snapping turtle's shell, a live snapping turtle, to get a good shell for Toka. Wait, no, it's a Razor. Man, I forget which one's which.
I forget which one is which. We'll nail this in the movie section, but I have to imagine that turtle is still alive because they live forever.
Oh man, now how many turtle fans need to know that the original Toka or Razor technically could still be at a zoo in North Carolina somewhere.
There's probably like a very faded plaque by his enclosure.
Oh yeah, dusted, worn by time.
It's like he's in this spring's Secret of the Ooze. Go see it.
And they hired 2 different editors on it. I want to talk about one of them because he did a good interview on the Arrow disc, which is Steve Merkovich, who co-edited this with Joe Wright. Merkovich, I think, was overqualified for this, but happy to take the job. He worked a lot on John Carpenter films, including Big Trouble in Little China. And you can see, that's his role would fit here. He says he's the guy who he was brought in on They Live just to edit the super long fight scene in it. And if that's true, he's got my undying love. And the returning actors, not many of them, but there's some.
Yeah, I don't think as a kid I realized that they replaced April, and then when I go back to these, which isn't often, I think, ooh, what a downgrade. Although I know this actor is trying her best, they were locked in with that really good April from the beginning, and then they lost her.
Yeah, it's in the recasting, mostly people just didn't come back. But yeah, there was some recasting too, in that the returning actors, there's Kevin Clash as both the puppet performer and voice of Splinter, Robbie Rist as the VO for Michelangelo, Brian Tochi as Leonardo's voice actor, David McCarran as the voice of Shredder, and then only 2 live action actors returned, Toshihiro Obata as Tatsu, and very briefly, Raymond Serra as Chief Stearns.
It was Judith Hoag was the first April O'Neil, and was it the working conditions she didn't like? Is that really what it boiled down to?
It was a lot of that, yes. So she said that she had 2 problems on the movie when she was making it. One, she didn't like how violent it was either when she was making it. Like, she thought it was teaching kids a bad lesson. But also, she disliked the grueling filmmaking and poor working conditions of it, like 6 days a week. She complained about the injuries that were happening on set with the stuntmen, who she felt were not being taken well care of. And in general, like, she complained. And they were like, here's what Tom Gray said. People aren't showing up for Judith, though she did a fabulous job. It was really all about the turtles. So that's why they're like, they gave her the boot.
I think Judith was a real redhead, too.
I think she was really great. she matters quite a lot as one of the only humans you're going to see in it. And yeah, but what they wanted from April in this movie also is a lot less than they wanted from April in the first movie too. So I can see too, they're like, well, let's just get some soap opera actress and she can handle it. Pressman also, to his credit, he's like, I wouldn't have made that pick. He had almost cast Judith Hogue in a previous production of his and was looking forward to working with her. When he took his meeting with them is when he learned that they did not want Judith Hogue back. So he's like, well, all right, I guess that's how it's going to be. And also Casey Jones, gone. Cut just, he was never in any version of the script. I think it was they only had room for one other human important character in it who I'll get to. But also, if they had problems with the violence, Casey Jones is he's the most violent guy in the movie.
And they might have realized also that the way kids absorb their Turtles content is the cartoon, and Casey Jones is a very, very minor character in the cartoon. We talked about it with the first movie that was more drawing from both the cartoon and mostly the comic series, where Casey Jones is a bigger deal. But I think he's just got a very few episodes in the cartoon.
Well, because he's a little more one note. Like he's just played as just a snarling, insane person in the cartoon too, right? Like
yeah.
Also, if I'm thinking like a concerned parent, it's bad enough to have like my kids like pick up sticks and say like, "Ooh, I have the bow staff or whatever," but Casey picks up like baseball bats and hits people with them, which is like, well, a kid can do that in most homes probably and pretend to be Casey Jones pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Anyone can be Donatello. Any kid can be Donatello. If you got a broom,
unscrew that or mop top too. It works. It works just fine. You'll break dishes and vases in your home, but you'll have looked like a Ninja Turtle, which is more important. And so Elias Koteas gone, which also Pressman was sad about because he said he had gave Koteas one of his earliest jobs in film on something Pressman worked on, and he was really looking forward to working with him. Which I think they realized they needed the boost of Casey Jones in the third movie. He's one of the few positives, like, well, at least Casey's back. Not that he does much in it, right? Like,
you expect him to do a lot more. That third movie, I guess we could talk a tiny bit about it here. There's a big plot point where it's like, oh, Casey Jones' ancestor is in feudal Japan. Does that have anything to do with anything? No, it's just kind of interesting, isn't it?
Maybe it was. They just didn't want to fly out Elias Koteas to wherever they filmed. No, I bet that movie still filmed in Wilmington. They didn't go to Japan to film that movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing his ancestor in the feudal Japan parts, but there's no like connection there. Just like, isn't that interesting that he exists here? Well, yeah, I guess that's all we're doing with this.